every time.
It's a long one. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How y'all doing this evening? Welcome to episode number 43 of the Reseller Show. My name's Andy Lawrence.
And my name is Kev Massive Action Blackburn.
You did. There was a micro pause there, Kev. I was just trying to figure out whether you forgot your own name, but that's good. We got there. Oh dear, what a day. Alrighty, welcome everyone, boys and girls on the replay that are watching. There's probably no one watching live just yet, but this is what we do every Monday evening at 7 p.m. I'm glad that you can be along for the ride. If you ever have any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat or send us an email or join the Reseller Show Facebook group. That's what we're there for, to help this community grow together. So it's always a good time of year. We're on the lead up to the big Q4. Well, we're in amongst it. So things are hotting up now, Kev.
Yeah, I know. It really is hotting up. I mean, the warehouse is getting so much more busier. It's not as today's really cool day. It's been a hot summer in this warehouse. So it's one of those things with when you've got the warehouse, it's like an oven in the summer, but then it is freezing in the winter. So it's in that middle period now. But with it being wholesale trade show week, with us being the lead up to Q4, we're like literally 4 weeks away from Q4. It is so busy, but that's we love that. We love being busy every single day.
Absolutely, that's scary. Are we 4 weeks away from Q4? Yeah, we are.
That's right. Yeah, 4 weeks away from Q4.
That's 4 weeks away from my birthday as well. So just thought I'd get that in there in case you're thinking about birthday ideas, Kez. Just you've got 4 weeks, mate. So
Yeah. Your birthday's on the is it the 1st of October, right?
That's it. Yep. The start of Q4. So that's a cool birthday to have if you're in the reseller community, I guess.
Love that. It's like Andy Q4 Lawrence.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it was. I just sort of like I had to get going. I was there. I was 0 years old. I was like, I've got to get going. It's Q4 time to come into the world because I've got to get things done. Yeah.
You were born to make money. That's what it was all about. You were born to make money. I love that.
Just waiting till Q4 turned up and I was ready to go. That's it.
Well, I mean, I'd just say hello to everyone that's joining in. We've got Chris is in. We've got Luke in. We've got Darren in. We've got Mark in. We've got Kevin. We've got Simon in. We've got Sam in. We've got Danny in. It's amazing. Everyone's flooded in. I love being able to do something live because I don't do anything live. I don't know whether you do much things live, Andy, but it's so good to have a platform like the Reseller Show where we can interact live as well as just hang out with the community and the mastermind that we've got here. So really looking forward to tonight's episode because with it being wholesale trade show week. And with us, a good lead up to Q4, we've got Wholesale Help. Andy himself is in. His brand is Wholesale Help. If you don't know, we don't do much of promotion of our individual brands on the Reseller Show. But if you're not familiar, Andy's been. How long have you been building Wholesale Help for now, Andy?
Let me see. I don't actually know. I guess it was somewhere along the lines of. I don't know when I started the website. A long time ago, well over 10 years. I want to say, I don't know. I can't remember. I started it a long time ago purely to keep track of my own thoughts and ideas about experimenting with eBay at the time. And that it grew from there. People started paying attention. It just grew organically from there. But a very long time ago, it was very low key and under the radar to begin with. And it just found its own sort of life. So a very long time is the answer.
Do you know, is a pop quiz for you, Andy. Do you know when you uploaded your first ever YouTube video on your wholesale-help.com YouTube channel? What date was it?
That's a good question. I want to say around about 2006, 2007, something like that. I don't actually.
So the magic number, and by the way, congratulations. You've got 23,008 subscribers now. So you've
Nice.
just hit the 23,000 subscriber mark, and
Love
your
it.
first video was uploaded on the 7th of May. No, the 17th of May, sorry, 2008. 2008.
2008. Wow, that was a while ago.
That's
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah, that's been quite a journey since then. Yeah, I guess yeah. So that makes sense. So probably been messing with eBay for a few years before I put my first video up. It would have been at least a couple of years. So I started talking about my journey and wholesale suppliers and things like that. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
2008. Wow, long
amazing.
time. Yeah. If you look, don't, I wouldn't suggest you do it, but if you ever look back at the Wholesale Help YouTube channel, you can see what happened to me. I was a young looking chap when I first started, and I've aged considerably. That's what happens when you're on YouTube for too long. Then you can actually see the path of aging as it goes. And there was not one grey hair at that stage, but there is now, alas.
Hey, I mean, the thing is, for me, I'm going to go. I'm slowly losing my hair, so
Cool.
so one day I'll be bald, and we'll be able to go back and see when I had hair. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
we sidetrack. We're talking wholesale, so we've got
That's right.
we've got
Yeah,
we've
that's
got
it.
wholesale help on. So we're going to talk all things trade show. So you guys that are in the chat right now, have you been going to the trade show? Are you going to the trade show? What's been your experience? Have you had success? Have you had challenges? I would love to know in the chat, and myself and Andy will be able to we'll get a conversation started around it and what to do the sort of weeks after the trade show. I think a lot of people talk about what happens up leading towards a trade show and maybe what to do at a trade show, but
Mhm.
what do we do afterwards as well, Andy? I think we can have a
Yeah.
great conversation around all that.
Good questions. Yeah, I know there's a few people in the chat that have been. Mark Clay, I was speaking to him during the week. I know he's been to the show, so I'd be interested in your experience, Mark. Luke Sharrett as well. Luke says, found myself a good liquidator and a couple of wholesalers on day one. Bring on day two. Get in, Luke. Good old boy. Good to hear it.
Nice.
Simon's going to be there tomorrow. Interested in coffee if anyone wants to meet up with Simon tomorrow. Luke's in the area, Simon, so I'm sure. Lloyd as well. I think Lloyd's there for a couple of days because Lloyd's flown over from Ireland. So I know that he's definitely staying for a few days. I can't remember whether he stayed for Sunday and Monday or Monday and Tuesday. I can't remember, but Lloyd may well be around as well, Simon. So look out for him. So yeah, we've got a few attendees in the chat, which is good to see.
Love
But
it.
okay. So what we're going to do after the obviously for years I've been saying you should go to the trade shows, speak to people. It's a totally different thing when you get to speak to people face to face and engage, and all sorts of conversations come up, not just opening accounts with the people that you speak to, but just talking to people in our industry, being open-minded, and conversations get going, and then you end up with a situation where they say, oh yeah, you should speak to so-and-so over there. They do that type of liquidation. So you've got this guy, and they're the three main guys in that type of industry. And then all of a sudden, you've got the best type of research you can get just by shooting the breeze with people. So it's essential to begin with. If you want to get ahead in wholesale, it's all about relationships. And one of those ways of doing that is getting out there and speaking to people at trade show. So let's just assume you've done that. You've taken my advice and you've gone there. You've got yourself some supplies. Obviously, they're no good unless you follow up with getting accounts open. If you can get some accounts open at the show, do what you need to do, jump through the hoops there and then, because striking while the iron's hot is the best thing. People are inundated with contacts and people to follow up with after the show. So the more you can get done at the show, the less time you have to hang around with people sorting things out afterwards. So try and get that done there and then. If not, follow up with them, make sure you've got their cards, make it some notes about the different people you've spoken to, what you've agreed, and different things like that, because it all makes sense on the day, but when you come back 2, 3, 4 days later, a week later, you won't necessarily remember all those little details. So make as many
Yeah, so
notes.
I'm just gonna quickly jump in because
Sure.
gonna a couple of questions there. So okay, so you're at the show,
Mhm.
you're taking notes. Do you recommend people to take notes?
Mhm.
So because you can leave a trade show, and as you will know, Andy, you can leave the trade show with a handful of business cards. You know,
Yeah,
you could
loads.
and for every business card that you get, and there's a whole lot of work involved in
Mhm.
contacting them, following up with them. If you do open up an account, if you do get that price list and the stock list from them, there's a whole lot of work. There could be days worth of work just in
Yeah.
that alone. So here's a
Mhm.
question for you: how do you sort of rank where you should be going? Do you know what I mean? If you walk out there with a big handful, is it just you've just taken notes at the trade show? I need to
Mhm.
look at this one first,
Yeah.
or what do you do? Because it could be a bit of a challenge to get through all that amount of work.
Yeah, so you can either, if you always get a business card for sometimes from someone, you either get a business card and a price list, or a business card and a small catalog. You get lots of bits of paper. So if you get a business card, you can write just one or two different notes on the back of the business card. So that note is always with the business card. You can flip it over and you can say, account open, sending catalog in the next 3 days or something like that. So you can look at that and say, okay, it's already been 3 days, haven't seen it, let me follow up with Rob to see, just to remind him that he needs to send the catalog. The account's open, that's fine. So you put it to one side, and so on and so forth. So you could have a stack of cards and do it like that, or you can just say, not really interested. Just, you can get rid of the cards you're definitely not going to use. Obviously, take it out of politeness, but that can go in a bin on the way past, just to keep it neat and tidy. And then you could rank them, if you like, in order of priority that you really want to get and speak to. Or if you want to take more details, you can take a pen and a pad with you and write out for each individual person. The problem with that is, whilst you're doing it, you might get 10 people in a row give you details and cards, and it's not always ideal and easy to stop after each one. Whereas just writing a few things on the back of a card, if you can get it on the back of a card, it's a much more dynamic way. Maybe write more detail when you get back to your hotel room or get back home, then maybe that will be enough to jog in memory, and you might want to write a bit more information.
And that is an amazing tip there, right there. To be honest, because I think in many ways that's an argument for a golden nugget. Because I'll tell you why, right? When you go to these places, it's a big place. You can be overwhelmed. There's just a lot there.
Yeah.
You're talking to a lot of different people, and you could walk out there with a handful of business cards. And I know for me, one of the lessons that I learned when I got away from the next day, and you sort of looking over what you achieved. One of the things were, oh, where the hell do I start?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I get in contact with? And
Yeah.
just by having a little bit of a scribble of notes on the back of cards, like expected contact in 3 days, or schedule a phone call on next Thursday, or just to
Mm-hmm.
jog that memory of yours.
Yeah.
That could be the difference between somebody and you guys in the chat right now, or anybody looking this back in the recording. That could be the difference between complete overwhelm, you're not sure where you're going, to, oh, you may have had a golden nugget that you've now forgotten about because it's amongst all these others. So just that, having those little notes on the business cards, I think that
Mm-hmm.
deserves a.
Let's get it out. Let's do it. Yeah, well, you've got to be organized, because you're going to speak to a lot of people. It's going to be amazing, but it soon wears off if you don't take action afterwards. It's like going to an event, a conference, a seminar. It's amazing. You meet so many new people, you're energized, you're ready to go. But unless you take good notes about what you're actually going to do, when you come back to practically put that into action, then it doesn't matter how energized you are, you're not going to follow through. So yeah, good notes. And even just things like long term, if you're going to build a relationship with a supplier and he happens to mention, while you're just shooting the breeze, you're getting on well, you're talking about random things, and he happens to mention his football club, Tottenham Hotspur or something like that, and you just end up getting onto that subject, then you may want to put on your notes on the back of the card, Tottenham fan, because when you go back and speak to him again, maybe you'll go back next year, maybe you'll speak to him on the phone. And I always recommend speaking on the phone if you can. Then you can work that into your conversation. Just check the score before you call him, and just say, oh, they had a nightmare this weekend, didn't they? Just to get everyone comfortable, build that relationship further, and develop something. Because I guarantee if you have a stronger relationship with someone who you're working with, if something comes up and there is a finite amount of stock, there's something come in, someone's got to get it, you're going to be on the first person to call if you have a solid relationship with someone that can pay off tenfold. So it greases the wheels.
What you're sharing here is real experience of how to really win at this game, because I can from my own personal experience, my own personal journey. Do you know those little things like that? If you imagine the account manager, whoever you're speaking to, and you're trying to build a relationship, you think there's not just you. There's also, there's maybe 100 other people that they've spoken to. And obviously they maybe not remember you from Adam yesterday. So basically, if you are able to incorporate something personal to them, where it's like, bloody hell, he remembered that I support Tottenham, or oh god, he remembered that this was whatever detail they may have shared with you, that can go a long way, So amazing, love it.
Yeah,
carry
definitely.
on, Andy. This is gold.
Just going to keep spewing out information. It's no problem. I love it. Something like Evernote. If you're a digital person, you want to organize yourself, you can create an Evernote folder and put in those keywords and list out all the different people with little notes like that. And just have under Autumn Fair as the title, and then you can list out all the different suppliers, do it digitally. You can scan in the business cards, both sides, and then upload them to Evernote or Dropbox or something, whatever you use, Google, whatever it is, Google Photos, whatever you use. If you digitize it, then it's something you can be searchable later. And then, you can look up a business name just before you call them. And then on your screen, on your phone or on your computer, you've got those few notes, and you can add to those notes every time you have a conversation. When a leader of, a country like America or the UK, they're in talks with another country. They don't just sit down with like high level negotiations and go, now, what was it that we were talking about? You said something, I can't really remember. It was 6 months ago now. No, that doesn't happen. They've got a team of like 10 people with like dialogue of exactly who said what, when they said it, what they agreed to, and everything else like that. So that's how you get stuff done, is to make notes about what you agreed, what he gave, maybe a tip or something, anything that makes sense, write it down, because when you call him next time, it might be a month later or 2 months later. It's good just to refresh your memory, engage in the conversation last time. And it's surprising how easy it comes back with a few lines of notes about what you talked about. Then you can take off about football or about the business or about what he's expecting in, set reminders that he said he's expecting X amount of stock or type of stock in the next couple of months. Set a reminder in 1.5 months to call him back and just check what's going on with that sort of thing. Just keep really careful notes. And then the idea of this game with wholesale is to have as many of those on the go at once, because not all wholesalers are going to be fruitful. Some of them are not going to be of any use to us as Amazon sellers. They might be if you've got a brick and mortar store, but maybe not as Amazon sellers. So you might get to this process and find out they're no good. So the more you can get hold of, the more you can speak to, the more opportunities you have going down the line, and maybe something that will come up later in the future. So it's not wasted effort, but you do have to deal with as many as possible. And for that reason, it could get quite confusing. So a good way of organizing yourself and keeping track of everything is important, so you don't just get overwhelmed. And overwhelm is the thing to point out, as you mentioned, Kev, because there could be a lot to deal with. There could be a mountain of things, and you have to have a procedure. If you don't have a procedure, then you don't want to sit there. You'll be stuck into not doing anything ultimately, and you'll think, oh, I'll deal with that later. It's a lot to do. I haven't got time. Whatever. Set
Yeah,
aside
and
at least a couple of days to tackle it when you get home, and just don't get too waylaid with life, or else the longer you leave it, the less chance you'll actually take action. So make sure you block off a few days when you get back to get stuck straight into it.
so Danny says, I've been for the past couple of days, definitely worth a visit, which is
Excellent.
great. Mark said, opened some accounts, learned a lot, made notes regarding making more of the next visit. And I think that's it's a big thing. I think for you guys that are, if you've got any questions about wholesale, if you've got any questions that you want Andy to touch on or whatever, use the chat and ask the question, because that's what ultimately what this is about. Get the conversation going. That's what me and Andy are here for, to talk about anything that you guys need help with. But I think Mark made a good point here. Like there's something to be said about what do you do afterwards, and still in case of you're contacting your suppliers that you've spoken to, but also those notes about what you would do differently at the next trade show. So you're going to learn a lot, especially the first time you go. You may learn what not to do, what not to say. You may learn about if it's the first time you're actually speaking to somebody in real life, and you maybe put your foot in your mouth a little bit, and you're like, oh crap, why the hell did I say that? Or what did I do this? Do you know what I mean? You might say something like, you go, oh God, I shouldn't have said this, or that didn't work, and using afterwards, just as a little bit, maybe on your journey home, at the hotel room, or the next day when you get some time, just think about that and jot it down, because the next time that a trade show comes along, maybe if it's the spring fair or the autumn fair, whatever, the next time you go, you can reflect back to that and go, do you know what, next time I won't mention this, or I'll try to avoid doing that, or that didn't work last time, or I was overwhelmed that day, or whatever. So it's a really good point that Mark made there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those little things that you think about directly after the show will soon fade away. So, keep them in a folder regarding trade shows or something, and those little notes will be invaluable when you come back, because you go, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. And you will. You'll speak to people, and it's hard. It's intimidating, and the place is huge. There's thousands of people, and the first time, it's always going to be difficult to get your head around it. That's why it's also useful to go for a couple of days as well, because as Luke has done, he's in there for a couple of days. So you find your feet, you find your way around, you find where you need to be. And so it takes a little while to get going the first day. So if you can go the second day, then you're more confident. You know the lay of the land, you know how it works, you know the type of things people are talking about, and then you can go again on day two. So that's actually a decent thing to do if you have the time to go for a couple of days. But don't forget, guys, this is the beginning of the autumn fair. If you're being inspired by what we're talking about right now, it's on until, when's it on until? Something like Thursday.
Wednesday?
Yeah, somewhere along those lines. But you've still got tomorrow and at least the next day to go along. It's free. It's in Birmingham. It's in the smack bang in the middle of the country. The chances are it's not that far from you. Probably only a couple of hours at most, unless you're in Dorset or Northern Scotland, in which case you've got a longer trip. But it's there for a reason. The NEC is accessible with a lot of main routes. It's relatively easy to get to. Parking, this huge parking with park and ride facilities to get you straight in there. It's a breeze. There's no problem at all. You're straight off all the major motorways. So if you're thinking
quite
about
nice food there too.
Food's not bad. There's some nice restaurants in and around there, so it's worth going.
They did a nice. Last time I went, I had a nice fish and chips there. It was beautiful.
Did we have lunch together, Kev? I can't remember.
Well, I went 2 days running. I met you guys there. Where did we go? We ate somewhere. Yes, we did. We ate in that whole bit where where you've got all the fish and chips. You've got
the link,
hot dogs. The link. The link, it was
That's right.
boiling. Do you remember how hot it was?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I remember now. Yeah, I thought I was just trying to think. I can't remember whether we linked up and we had lunch together. That's right. Matt got lost at the crucial moment, and yeah, Matt was wandering around somewhere, and he found us eventually. By which time we were three-quarters of the way through our lunch. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was
And
quite funny.
Danny's just made a really, really valid point. He said, just make sure you get your comfy shoes on.
Yeah, Crocs all
Absolutely.
round. Get your Crocs out.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something as well. Um, After you get so much material, like you get like obviously magazines, you get paperwork, you get all sorts of catalogs, and it doesn't. I don't care how strong you are. It doesn't take a lot for you to very quickly, like you're carrying all this stuff around and you're like, Jesus, it's a workout. So
Yeah.
anything you can do in terms of helping yourself with a bag or a trolley or whatever, a
Yep.
little, one of the small suitcase that you take a sort of
Hmm.
cabin luggage, anything like that is gonna help you massively for sure.
Yeah, they've got lockers there that you can put your jacket in. You can put if you go back there halfway through, you can dump a load of catalogs and flyers and heavy stuff into your locker. They're usually about £1 or something to rent for the day, so you can offload it there. But yeah, having a backpack or a carry-on luggage or something, it is useful that you can, you don't want to be holding it. It gets cumbersome. You're going to, get tired quicker. So yeah, planning that sort of thing is important. You don't think it is until you realize you're probably going to walk about 6 miles in the day. So when you're not walking, you're standing still in the spot, which takes it out of you as well. If you're not someone as a job that's used to standing on your feet all day long, it's bloody tiring. Your feet are going to know about it at the end of the day. So it's worth thinking about, because you've got to be productive while you're there. And if you can't because you're absolutely knackered and your feet are killing you, then that's you're going to be losing time. So little things like that make a big difference for sure.
Yeah, and it's amazing on how fast the day goes as well.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like you really got to plan the strategy when you get there. You've really got
Hmm.
to, have a bit of an idea. I think if you turned up there completely, I think there is some value in turning up with a complete open mind, and you're just
Hmm.
like, "Do you know what, I'm just turning up."
Yeah.
But I do think, especially if you're wanting to be very productive and you go in there to do your work, get in, get out, get wholesale, especially with Q4, get going. I think having some type of plan is useful because
Hmm.
um, having a bit of an idea of the layout, having a bit of an idea of the halls, having a bit of an idea at least where you're going, because you can get lost in these places. They're very, very
Hmm.
big. Everything looks the same, and
Yep.
you can very easily just waste time walking around because there's so
Hmm.
much going on. But don't be
Yeah.
afraid to just to talk to anything that looks. This is one thing that I really, really enjoyed about going is you'll go there and things are just interesting. Like you'll come across brands, or you'll come across different wholesalers that you maybe have never even heard of, or you've never found online or anything like that before. And I think that is the power of going to a trade show.
Hmm.
You're going to have direct contact with a person who has
Hmm.
the power to open your account, which you're just not going to find that. You're just not going to have that online by just doing a simple Google search.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are wholesalers there, liquidators, all sorts of companies that you can't find in a Google search because they're not web optimized. They're not looking to advertise on the internet. They're looking for business to business. They want very specific clients, and you have to go where they are, which is these sort of trade shows. You can't just make a generic search like wholesale supply. You won't find them. You can't put liquidation supply. They might be called, I don't know, Stephen Jackson Limited or something like that. And what's that? What does that mean? You can't search for that unless you know the name. You'll know the name by going there and seeing Stephen Jackson Limited on the stall, and you can speak to them and you can see the products on their stall. And then you'll get a card saying Stephen Jackson Limited, and you'll speak to some people and they'll tell you what they do, what they offer, and how they go about business. And that's how you do it. And there's no way you will find them on the interwebs. They're not interested in advertising. They're not looking for a blanket approach. They're looking for very specific people, and those people go to trade shows. So you need to be where they are, and that's the only way of doing it. It filters out a lot of noise for them. And unless you get out there and you find these sort of people, you're not going to find them from the comfort of your home. So you do have to make the effort to find the right suppliers.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So, Andy, what's your thoughts on sort of brand deals then? Okay, so there's wholesale. So you go and open accounts, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and you have the ability to build relationship with that account holder, whether it depending on what category it is, whatever wholesaler it is. Let's say you come across a brand there, because there's times where you may come across a brand, right, and the products are the very very attractive products, and have you ever? I think you mentioned a few months back that you've got yourself into some specific brand exclusive deals. Is that something that you would? What's the process in that? Like
Yeah.
building that relationship with a brand and then potentially providing them with some value, getting the relationship. You're building a relationship to a point where you can even suggest the potential of a brand deal. Have you
Yeah.
spoken about that much out? I don't think we've
Um,
touched on that on the Reseller Show before.
No, we haven't. It's more of the high level training stuff, to be honest with you. But I'm quite happy to share it with our guys. But yeah, you probably heard it in the events that we put on and things like this, and that's where you've heard me talk about it. But yeah, basically, I would say it's more of an advanced tactic. If you're just getting started on Amazon or just getting started with this sort of thing, I would gain a little bit of experience first, because a lot of it is calling on your experience. Because sometimes the type of stuff that you're looking at might not already be on Amazon, in which case you've got no data to go on. And what we do is totally driven by data. So if you've got no data, then you have to almost have a punt or use some other metrics to make your decisions, and that's not always easy. And secondly, you could be spending quite a bit of time up front and not get anything back on the back end. So it is more of a high level thing. You want to really pick your battles. Don't go into it with everyone, but what you do want to do is identify yet to be utilized markets. Maybe there might be people that own and run their own business and have products that are solving a problem, look good, work, and has a demand. You've got to gauge the demand in a different way, because the whole point of doing this is probably that they're not on Amazon, they're not on eBay, and they have no experience of that. So you've got to try and figure out whether they're popular already. Are there some keywords that you can use with this item to get them to be popular? Are there some similar products that that are already doing really well on Amazon, and finding other cues to try and work this out? Because what you could do, you could end up having a conversation with someone, agreeing to list their products for them on Amazon, and then finding out after 3 months work that there's just not that much demand for them. People aren't looking for them, in which case you can't make people buy the stuff. So there is a bit of experience to be had there to try and figure that out. But if you can, there's a lot of money to be made with exclusive deals. If you find a product that is doing very well, that they just haven't Amazon, they're too busy with their e-commerce or their brick and mortar stores, and they're rolling it out in a different category. If you can get into a conversation that goes something like, have you sold on Amazon? And they're saying, I don't really know enough about it. We don't have time to look into it. I don't really understand how you create the product. I think you have to have a barcode. I don't really know how you do that. Then you can say, well, that's cool, because I know how to do it. I sell on Amazon. It's something that I have some experience with. So if you're interested, maybe we could do a supply agreement. Maybe you could supply me, and we can do a trial. Maybe we'll do 3 months or something if you want. See how it goes. I can set up all the listings. I can make it work for you. All you've got to do is supply me with the product, and we'll see how it goes. If you like the idea, if it's going well, maybe we can make some more of a long-term commitment. Just take it easy like that, see how you go, build the relationship again, because you potentially could be speaking to someone for the first time. So you've got to gauge it. You don't want to lose the opportunity by them saying, no, I don't really think so. So it is a careful game. Sometimes you might want to just say, this is a really good opportunity. I don't want to say that just yet. So maybe it's something you follow up on later.
Got to nurture it. Yeah,
Yeah,
got to
exactly.
take your time. You got to take your time a little bit with it. And the
Mm,
one thing, I mean, we are talking sort of the next level of wholesale, the potential
yeah,
here for exclusivity, and so we are talking advanced. And
yeah,
the reality is, you guys that are here in the chat, you guys are always supportive. You guys are always here. It's been sort of 35 minutes, so we don't mind. We're always going to share these sort of things with you guys. But I think there's something. What's really, really great about that next level of wholesale? So that you've got a level of just getting into wholesale, which is
mhm,
exciting enough. But then when you do get to a point where you are starting to build relationship and you've got a potential, you've got two sides of this. Like you mentioned about the potentially coming up with a deal where you are creating a listing. So it's like private label, but you're somebody else's brand.
yeah,
But there's the other side where there's maybe a brand that's not let's say that there's a brand that are selling on Amazon, but they're not in
mhm,
control of their product because
mhm,
they're maybe selling to so many people. So you
yeah,
get in a scenario of crashing prices. Their product is being devalued because there's so many people. And if you
mhm,
make them aware of this, then you can't just go all in and go, look what's happening on Amazon, do this and give me this. You can't do that. It takes
no,
time. You've got to nurture that relationship. You've got to
mhm,
build the relationship to the point where, that is a Tottenham fan. You know that she loves she loves a glass of wine with a chicken dinner or whatever. You're building a bit of a relationship, a bit of rapport to get you to the position where you can have that. Do you know that? Do you know what?
mm,
I've just been looking on Amazon and I can see can you see what's happening with your product right now? It's so devalued over the last couple of years, and people are not providing any value to it. Can you see you've got some negative feedback on your listing, and you're starting to open the door to a potential relationship
mm,
at another level, and that's
yeah.
that's advanced wholesale at this point.
Again, yeah, I think that conversation needs to be done, quite a way down the line when you are on
Yes,
first name terms of person. You've proven yourself. Maybe they've been supplying you for 6 months or longer. You're proving yourself in reliably buying product and gaining a relationship. And then at that stage, you can just shoot the breeze and just say, yeah, the stuff's going well, it's selling, but the competition is really causing problems, blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, you can get on and start talking about that sort of thing. And you can approach it and say, you don't have to sell to this many people. You might find that the product will be more stable and the customer's more happy if you limit the number and blah, 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 blah. And you can have that conversation.
and
But
you can control the price, you can improve the listing, you can do all these different things. But like you say, I think the important thing is it depends on where you're at. So there's if you're watching this right now and you're just a beginner and you've never got into wholesale, and it's great just to go to a trade show. A massive win for you is just to go to a trade show, have that experience. Walking out there with a couple of accounts, that's exciting. That gets you in the door. That gets you started. And then there's maybe sort of more intermediate people who have had some experience. You've started the relationship journey, if you like, from they don't know you from anybody, and now you're actually in a bit of a regular conversation. You're maybe placing orders month after month, and you're starting to be a valuable customer to them. And
yeah.
then when you start talking, you've had this relationship a year, 2 years, and you're really starting to build a relationship. At that point, that next level. So
Mhm.
it depends on where you're at, but I think that's very, very exciting because at that point there, you are in the territory of a very, very long-term sustainable Amazon business.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want to have a few balls, juggling a few balls in the air at all given time. So you're bringing on new wholesalers, you're developing new relationships, you're developing further established relationships, and finding new ground, new negotiations with current suppliers. And later on down the lines, the ones that you've been with 2 or 3 years, maybe you're there just talking about stuff. Things going well, and you might say, "Look, Brian, what am I going to have to do to get these prices down? Hey, we've been doing this a while. Stop messing about with me. where's the next level pricing?" And he's like, "Well, you know what it is, Andy. You've got to step up. If you order another 2 pallets, then maybe we can talk." And it's like, all right. Well, now I know that this is what we have to do next. I'm going to have to step up with the prices. And then you say, okay, well, what have you got? Have you got anything coming in that's going to make it easier for me? If you can find something for me, then I'm quite happy to put it down. But we have to make it work from both sides, and you can just start going backwards and forwards and making that relationship. And when you're in that position, the guard's down. It's less about business. It's more just one-on-one talking to someone you're relatively friendly with. They might say, I tell you what I'm going to do. Don't really do this apart from the guys that are doing hundreds of thousand orders. But if you can do this, we've got these, 4 pallets coming in rather than your usual pallet. If you can order all 4 pallets of this, I'll give you this price, and we'll just see how it goes. And then you get that sort of conversation. So excellent, okay, and twist them a little bit more and just see, because at that stage it's more friendly banter rather than I don't know this guy. You can you get a bad response if you don't have that sort of friendly relationship. But if you do, you can start messing around a little bit more and just saying, come on, what we got to do to get this a bit better. And the thing is, the better the prices you get, ultimately, that is an edge over your competition, because everyone else might be getting the standard terms. And if you can get 5% less than everyone else, 6% less, then you're making 6% more profit than everyone else with that account. So that's worth having, isn't it? Because
100%, absolutely.
If you're competing with someone and they've gone down to their bottom line, you're making 6% more profit at their bottom line than they are, saying that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to go any more than 15%. That's it. I'm out. So I'm going to have to stick there. Okay, you match that price. You're doing much better. You're doing 21%. You go, okay, cool. We'll stay there then, So makes a difference. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. It's worth the opportunity to develop those relationships, call them, spend the extra couple of minutes talking, because that's where it can get you in the long term. And this business is about long term, so it's worth the effort.
Definitely. Mark says, how true is that, Danny? Very good advice about the comfy shoes earlier. So just as another tidbit there, make sure you wear comfy shoes if you're going to go to the trade show. Jonathan's in. Jonathan says, a good book that details a lot of what we're talking about is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Great book. Very good book. It's so true. I mean, business is relationship. That's what it's all about. Relationship in terms of the trust, in terms of the rapport that you've got, and wholesale, especially when you go into a trade show and you're actually one-on-one talking to somebody. There's nothing more powerful than being able to work. I think it's a great skill. I actually genuinely think that if you are into personal development and you want to improve your skills, I think one of the real powerful things you can do is work on your communication, work on your ability to create rapport with people, and the book. I mean, so How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a great book which is going to detail a lot of this. And on the surface, when we're talking about building relationship and you're referring to getting a bit more personal with someone, where you capture what their football team is, or whatever the detail is, that sort of thing maybe sounds a bit obvious, but putting it to practice, there's a big divide between people that maybe know this and then actually do it. It's about doing it and trying to get out there and do it, and trying to and just the more you have these conversations, the more you get on the phone with somebody, the more you try to build that rapport, you're just going to get better over time, just like anything. You
learn by doing.
The first time we did probably the Reseller Show live like this, we were probably like, oh, I don't really know how. Do you know what I mean? You learn, you get better. After 43 episodes at this point, we're getting better, and that same applies to talking to wholesalers and suppliers, etc.
Absolutely. It's important. And a lot of people expect things to happen quickly and want instant results. And, people will often say to me, how do you get wholesale supplies? Or I've tried wholesale, it didn't work. And usually it means they've looked for some supplies, they couldn't find any. They contacted some suppliers and they said no, or they got some supplier accounts and they weren't good enough. These are all things, short-term things that it just means that you haven't spent enough time. You haven't gone further to find the right wholesale suppliers. You haven't asked the right questions, looked in the right places, and got the right answers. And this is all things that you can't expect it to happen immediately. This is a big business with a lot of potential money, and to expect to Google a few things, get some information, buy some products. If that was the case, it would have been long gone a long time ago. There's more to it. And the further you go, the extra effort you put in, and the more effort you put into get a wholesale supplier and get products will means you get that much out the other end. So the ones that
Hmm.
are the best for me are the ones that I've developed over the longest time. The extra effort, I'll go to a trade show because I know Barry's going to be there, and I'm going to see Barry again. And maybe I'll say, I'll message him beforehand. I'll call him and say, you're going to be so and so next week. Yeah, okay. Well, what are you doing in the evening? I know you're there for 3 days. Let's go and grab some dinner. Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds great. And then you go and have dinner with him. And what sort of conversations can you have over dinner and a beer where, there's opportunities.
You might diversify from just business as well. Um,
Exactly. It's gonna be a nice evening, and
yeah,
that guy will
you're gonna
remember
have
you.
you're gonna yeah you're gonna build a especially if you give him a couple of beers. Hey, have another
Exactly.
drink, Barry. Have
Yeah.
another drink, Barry.
It's on
Have
me.
another drink,
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
maybe you're going towards the don't bribe anybody. Don't.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened last night, Barry? Give me this account.
Yeah.
um,
Don't make me tell your boss what happened last night. Yeah, you don't want to go too far, and also you don't want to give him too much to drink because he may curse you the next day when he's got to spend 8 hours on his feet the next day with a hangover. So he might be thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to speak to that guy again. He's killed me." So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's a big thing. But Mark says I was in this exact position with a supplier and could have done better, could have done a lot better. Experience, like you say, and that's what it is. It's all about experience. Some like I said, you're gonna have many situations where you may come across somebody and you start a conversation and you put you put your foot in your mouth or you say
Mhm.
something wrong or you do something that's you're thinking to yourself later, what the hell did I say there? You
Mhm.
know, but
Yeah,
this happens. You just get
practice.
better over time. You
Yeah,
just get better.
absolutely. You do. You have to learn by doing. I said that to you, Mark, when we were chatting last week. You learn by doing. You've just got to get out there and do that. And you recognize that now, Mark, and you won't do that again. And next time you're in that position, you may seize on that moment. And sometimes you only recognize a moment was there after the event. And you look back and you think, oh, that would have been the perfect time just to say this and say that. We all have those situations. So you have to just learn and maybe try a few different things, and next time, after the fifth or sixth time you're in that position, you're going to get it's going to naturally flow in. You can even slightly direct the conversation into that position by sort of Rubik's cubing it into the right place a few things ahead of time to get around to where you want to be talking about. You can ninja that stuff up after a while. After a few years of doing it, you can be angling around conversations to get to well, they start having an idea and maybe suggesting something they think was their idea, but actually it was your idea. It just came to them in an idea because we're kind of getting the conversation around to that. So there's opportunities all the time, and the more you do it, the better it is. And the great thing is, it's free. 99% of these things are free. Go to them. It's going to cost you your own time and the price of fuel. So just get out. There's so many different trade shows to go to. There's niche specific trade shows. There's toy fairs. There's beauty fairs. There's jewelry ones. There's generic ones like the autumn and spring fair. You can spend an awful lot of time going to them. So learn your trade, get good at it, because the better you are at it, the more opportunities you're going to have, the more money you're going to make. As simple as that. So, uh,
Absolutely. Sean's in. Sean says, "Yo."
yo,
Um,
Sean,
he's
yo,
he's been busy dropping off loads of hardcore out of my garden. I'm not
You
entirely
know the
sure.
score.
um,
Hardcore will never die, Sean. Come on.
Sean says, question. Oh, I'm not too sure about where. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think will happen to businesses if the Labour Party got in? And then Kev follows it up by saying, politics and tax is banned from the Reseller Show. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, when we talk about the difficulty you've got, any type of topic of like politics or like tax and legal advice and things like that, clearly myself and Andy, we've always got to say a disclaimer when it comes to any legal advice. We can't give you any, right? There's people legally trained to give you tax and legal advice like that. When it comes to politics, it's such a I don't know what the right word is.
Explosive
It like
subject.
yeah, it's such an explosive subject. I mean, if could you imagine if I'm a supporter of Labour and Andy's a supporter of Tory, and then me and Andy start scrapping live on the Reseller Show? Virtually, we're literally like, I don't know which way the camera's turning.
Go on,
Is the
do
camera
it, do
like
it.
this? I'm not sure. Is it
Go
like
on.
this?
Yeah, like
No,
that.
the
Go
other
for
way.
it.
This
No,
way.
the other
This
way.
way.
No, the other way.
That's it. Yeah. me and Andy start like we start scrapping online. It
Wouldn't
wouldn't
be good.
work. It wouldn't be good. So we tried to stay away from topics like that for obvious reasons. But one thing that I did want to do, and I want to make sure that I don't forget, because I know we are on the Facebook group. There was a couple of questions that I wanted to quickly get to. So if you're not in the Facebook group, please do join the Reseller Show Facebook group. It's a great little community there where if you was to join, you can then put your questions, for example, if you maybe can't make the live show. So I'm really keen for those that maybe can't make the live show, you can just put it in there and then we'll have a quick touch on what's going on. But I think there was one. Let me have a look. This and Sean goes live as well. He goes live in the group a lot.
You can't miss Sean's lives as well. They're always interesting. He's probably going to show us his hardcore.
Then of everything I've just said, there was a question from Chris, saying VAT related question. After I've just said that we don't. I think VAT and accounting and things. I mean, he mentions about, as it stands, we're about to go over the VAT threshold, so just about to get registered. So the question is, how does he determine what products are zero rated, reduced rated, or standard rated? I know most groceries are zero rated and reduced VAT. However, how would you know exactly when making the purchasing decision? So I think the thing is with anything VAT, first and foremost, is speak to an accountant. Everything that I say is more on an experience point of view, but a lot of the times with VAT, you've got to be very, very careful on the rate. Like, it can make a big difference. You can pay thousands upon thousands of pounds additional tax if you don't get this correct. So it's really, really important to manage and know get your invoices, make sure you're getting the right rate for things. That's really, really important anyway, from a correct accounting point of view. But if you're ever not sure, what rate or anything is, then you can maybe ask the question. There's lots of different categories of different foods. There's a whole library on Amazon, all the different tax codes of like all the different tax, different criteria, different selections of different products. There's all that sort of stuff you can look at as well.
Yeah, and make sure you've got yourself a decent accountant as well, I think is the most important thing. Someone like Mark Hawley, who's an Amazon specialist accountant, he knows Amazon, he understands Amazon. He is going to be able to not only answer those sort of questions, but also volunteer information, which is rare with accountants, actually volunteer information on how you can shape your business to make it the most efficient for tax and get the best out of it. And that's really important because a lot of accountants aren't familiar with Amazon and the different ways of doing things. And it can be an uphill battle to educate them and get that to a situation, because ultimately with tax, you don't know what you don't know. It's not logical. It's a very difficult subject. So you've got to make sure that you attack it head on. Don't be passive about it. Make sure that you sort of really look into it, because the earlier on you get your head around it, the earlier on you get it set up so it works in a procedure that works for you, the much better you're going to be. Chris says Mark is our accountant. Good man. That's probably a very good start then, in which case Sean says Mark is my accountant too as well. Yeah, good. It's a good idea, because your life's going to be a lot easier, and it's going to save you an awful lot of money in the long run by having someone who is educated. And if you're not sure about anything, he's the man. You're paying for his time, so make sure you make use of that resource. He's a very good guy, and he will keep you on the straight and narrow for sure.
Definitely. And I think on that note, that concludes another episode of the Reseller Show. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. We're pretty much an hour in. Another one. It goes pretty quick, doesn't it? But
it does. Did you guys enjoy this? If you did, please do hit that like button if you haven't already. You guys that are on the podcast, maybe listening to this back or watching this back, we really, really do appreciate it. Myself and Andy, I think we've said this week on week on week, but it's so enjoyable being able to hang out with you guys on a Monday evening, especially as we go through the seasons. We're nearly at our 1 year anniversary. I'm not 100% sure when our anniversary is, but it's going to be throughout this Q4, which is maybe a celebration that we'll do in itself. We turn 1 in Q4, but yeah, really, really enjoy it. So it's been great to hang out with you guys once more.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for all your questions and your interaction in the chat. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. As always, questions in the Reseller Show Facebook group between now and next Monday. We will answer them on the show if you post them up there. Hope you get cracking. If you go to the trade show, good luck. Let us know how you're getting on. If you're not, maybe set a date. Give yourself a task to find the next one in your area. Take action and make it happen. That's the best way to do it.
Absolutely. And on that note, on that bombshell, take care. Keep taking massive action as always. And we wish you a very, very amazing week.
See you later, guys.
See ya. That's what you usually do. See ya.